Hello and welcome to the ISJ Leaders in Security video series. Today I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend Alex Bomberg, who is Group Chairman of Intelligent UK Holdings Limited, group of companies. With over 2 decades of experience in the security and intelligence sectors, in his current role, Alex oversees the portfolio companies that provide comprehensive security, intelligence and risk management services. Under his leadership, Intelligent Limited has expanded its global footprint and has actually notably achieved CNAPS certification in France for close protection services. They were the first UK company to actually do so. Recently, the company also has companies registered in the UAE and Iraq. Alex is a fellow of the Institute of Strategic Risk Management and is also a member of the Security Institute. Alex, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, James. Yeah, really good. Thank you very much.
Fantastic to hear. And obviously you've got a lot of experience in the industry, decades of experience in the security and intelligence sector specifically, and now you oversee portfolio companies that provide comprehensive security, intelligence and risk management services, that being Intelligent UK Holdings Limited. Obviously under your leadership, the company's grown massively globally. You've had a lot of significant achievements across the world. And today we're just going to be chatting a little bit about kind of your approach to leadership and the stance you take on that front and how you see the industry evolving as well. So I want to take a little bit of an insight firstly into how personally your leadership approach has evolved as threats have changed across the globe and how different needs have changed for clients as well. How have you kind of pivoted in relation to that?
Yeah, sure. So early on, I was probably quite a poor leader. I'm not a natural leader. I'm not somebody who found it really easy, to be honest. I'm a good businessman. That's fair to say, and I've always had that. But leadership's not something that came naturally to me. So I had to learn how to get the best out of people. You know, in the military, you can shout at people, order people, and get things done quite easily. But when you're running a company with people all over the world, you've got to recognise how to get the best out of people. And as things have developed in the company, obviously we're dealing with different cultures, different languages. So we're dealing with people from all around the world. It gets very, very complicated. But it's about collaboration, I think, really, knowing that whilst I'm in charge of the company and it's not me necessarily running the tasks, it's not me on the ground. So you've got to, a lot of it is about respecting the people that are under you and being more collaborative. You know, things are getting quite complex out there with a lot of emerging threats. Yeah. So the best thing I can do as a leader is I need to make sure that firstly I'm keeping up with those threats, and secondly that I'm identifying the best talent for the company going forward to come in. That's probably the most difficult thing for me at the moment is keeping abreast of things, because there's a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of companies that are not necessarily looking at this the emerging threat of artificial intelligence. Yeah. And if you're not on that curve already, you won't even be behind the curve. You won't even be on it. Yeah. And your company will get hit, or your clients' companies will get hit, and it'll become really, really difficult to try and row back from. So that's one of the things that we're doing, is trying to stay ahead of that curve at the moment and get the right people in. So, you know, from a leadership point of view, yeah, that's where my focus is really.
Fantastic. And it's really interesting and also very honest of you to kind of talk about that transition you found moving from that kind of military background into the more civilian space and the private sector space. It's interesting to hear that. And when you talk about, you know, collaboration, something you raised there, and we look ahead at what the future holds for the industry, but also the world generally in the face of digital threats, what kind of qualities like collaboration do you think will define that next generation of leaders? I mean, you've been in those shoes yourself and you've moved into this position now. How do you kind of see that move from a younger generation forward?
Partly I'm a little bit worried about the younger generation. I mean, they're very digitally focused. I meet a lot of people who are really good at working alone. I think COVID's done that. So you get a lot of people who maybe lack the emotional intelligence of having worked within groups and okay, they're great collaborating on projects, you know, remotely, but when they're not great necessarily team players, you know, in the pit, if you like, if you throw them in a room full of people. So it's horses for courses. I think you've got to, you know, you've got to work with what's out there, but also try and bring people along. I think emotional intelligence is a huge thing, and also, working as we do across the globe, intelligence and close protection. Certainly with close protection, if you've got people on the ground, you need people who can make decisions really fast.
Yeah.
Who can make dynamic decisions, sometimes based on a lack of information. I mean, we all like to think about things in hindsight, but with the best will in the world, when people are making decisions on the ground, which very often, well, mostly isn't me, I'm not on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm employing these people. So I need to respect that they're making decisions without necessarily the full information. So I need, to be able to bring people on who are able to do that. Not always easy.
No, it's a big challenge, absolutely. And I think that kind of ties in also to when we look at the wider model of being a leader in today's industry, where there are a lot of significant challenges and you're in the pressure cooker, so to speak, to make those instant decisions. How would you kind of strike the balance between what you'd maybe consider to be traditional values of leaders, but also transparency and ideas of innovation in this changing landscape? How would you strike that balance?
I think, from my point of view, I'm very much still on the leadership journey myself. So I'm still discovering what is a good balance and what isn't a good balance. It's really difficult, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm quite lucky that I've got very good people in place, like Christian Hill, who is our group managing director. So my role going forward is going to be a lot more strategic. So I'm leaning on other people more. I think finding those people that have got good integrity, good experience, who are able to make not always great decisions, but who are able to make decisions. The worst thing is in leadership, I think, is criticizing somebody's decision making.
Yeah.
But we pay these people within our companies for a reason. So having the maturity to do that. I mean, I'm 52 now. I've had my own company for 23 years.
Yeah.
And we don't always make the right decisions. And I think it's the maturity of being able to reflect on that as well is a big thing for me. So, you say about striking that balance. I mean, leadership values, I think you've got to be fair. I think being fair with people and trying to be understanding and not losing it with people when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And not making quick decisions. I mean, I have that luxury that I'm dealing with people who are making quick decisions. I'm not necessarily making those quick decisions myself. So I have some luxury to be able to sit back and very often look when things have gone wrong or when things have gone right. I try to not make decisions in haste.
Yeah, that's fun.
Try and be more supportive, really.
That's fantastic. And I think one of the interesting things you touched on there as well is surrounding yourself with the right people and investing in those people as well. You mentioned Christian there. And I think that's a really poignant aspect as well, is having the confidence to have people around you who can make decisions kind of for you and with you as well is a big aspect. And finally, what would you say to emerging leaders who are looking to maybe move into more of a high stakes environment? Obviously security is high stakes by its very nature, but in some of those more, I guess you'd say, isolated or sensitive environments around the world, what would you kind of say is maybe that first step you'd give as a bit of a nugget of advice to people?
I think certainly from an international scale, try and understand the cultures you're dealing with more. I mean, I love the sound of my own voice. I love speaking, as you well know. But try and listen more. Listen to the people on the ground and try and switch on more as to what what's going on in that country, what's going on in people's homes. Very often, you'll work with people, and especially people, some people in Asia, in Africa, they don't have the same sort of life comforts as we do. So when you're working with those types of people, they may have real struggles within their own lives. That we wouldn't, we can turn on the tap and there's clean water. We can switch the switch and there's electricity. Some of these people live in countries where that's not possible. And although they're turning up to work every day and producing work, they often have these other struggles. So it's being open-minded to that we live, we in the Western world, we live in quite luxury, when you compare to some of these people. So, understanding cultures, understanding maybe people have difficulties and challenges in their lives. So it's not all about work. One of the biggest things I've learned in the last 23 years working for myself is that you are not the be all and end all. It's your people.
Yeah.
So learn about yourself and your own abilities, but learn how to support other people and bring other people on. That's a major thing. Literally invest in your people, invest in your contacts and your friends. That's the main thing, because that's how you can stay in this industry for a very, very long time. Is just invest in your network and the people around you and support them, those people.
Wise words. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Really look forward to the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Brilliant. Cheers.